Okem, how are you, pal?
Hi, Fabian, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How's things?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, how are you settling in?
Yeah, I'd say pretty well by now.
Yeah, been a
Yeah,
crazy year, hasn't it?
yeah. It's been very different, but no, it's been good.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, so we're recording now, so we'll get started, anyways, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Um, Obviously, you came through, you worked with us in the last year, so I just want to, let everyone know really about your experience for you to tell your own experiences, how things happened, how it's worked out, how things are currently
Mm,
going. So, good place to start is just, give everyone a little bit of a background in terms of your situation when you were playing in the UK. Where
mm.
were you? How are things going there? And what really made you decide that you thought the US was a good option for you?
Okay. So I was playing for my local team back in my town of North London. So I signed for Barnet FC at around the age of 11. So I was playing academy football over there since I was like 10 years old. So I was playing there for a couple of years until I got my scholar at 16. And I did 2 years over there in the youth team. And then my second year of my scholar, I managed to break into the first team in the end. And then in my second year of my scholar, when I was kind of in and out of the first team squad, I wasn't really playing too many games or whatnot. I kind of just started looking at certain options because I think you reached out to me on Instagram, and then I started to look into the American scholarship system, and I kind of thought that I did kind of want to continue my education and stuff like that. So it started to just look more appealing, and then I had a lot of time to think about it when COVID hit, and then the season ended, and yeah, I just went through it, and it seemed like the best option for me at the time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you were in and around the first team. I remember when we first got speaking, and actually I was quite surprised that you were taking an interest, because most of the players that I tend to speak with, when they're in and around the first team, they kind of tend to want to pursue that option, and even if they don't get offered a contract with their team, go down a semi-professional route or try their luck with other teams. So
Mm.
for you, what made you think that the US was a better option than perhaps staying in the UK and going down that route?
Well, for me, after I made my debut, I kind of got to a point where I wasn't really getting too many minutes, and kind of some of the more experienced pros were starting to come back into the side. So I started going on a lot of loans. So I think I went on like 3 loans in like the space of 3 months or something like that.
Mm.
I was kind of getting bounced around teams and whatnot. And I started to consider like how realistic it was for me to, or how, I don't know, difficult it would to cement a place in the first team and whatnot, and my options if I were to leave, and with a pro in my head, how difficult that would be, and if I could step up a level or whatnot. And then the idea of maybe being able to come out to the States and have that degree to fall back on, because if I didn't manage to succeed at Barnet or a club I moved on, then I'd be in a position where I'd be set back if I wanted to go back into education. Um, that alongside being able to like continue football and pursue maybe the chance of getting drafted in the States, for me seemed like the best option for me at the time. So yeah,
Mm.
I just kind of weighed them all off, and for me it just kind of came out on top overall.
Yeah, I remember when you first signed up, you sort of one of the kind of exceptional cases really, where you had quite a lot of interest straight away. Actually, I remember
Mm,
there was, I think, around 5 or 6 universities straight away within 24, 48 hours
yeah, no,
uh,
it's
who,
crazy.
who said they were interested in you, weren't they? So tell us
Mm,
everyone a little bit more about that, how you went through that process, how you assessed your options. Obviously, in the end, you chose UConn, but
mm.
what made you choose UConn, and how did that process go for you with speaking to the coaches and so on?
Well, yeah, no, it was very hectic. I remember that same day I had training for my loan team, and I came back, and then my phone was blowing up. I had so many like different messages from different coaches and whatnot. Um, yeah, for me, it was just a process of doing research about the schools that contacted me and their programs and stuff like that. I wanted to go to a school that was competitive, and I was lucky that a lot of like high quality schools contacted me. So then after that, it was a case of looking at percentage scholarships they were offering, and the squad, like where I'd fit in, and how much you got kind of assess how much you think the coaches want you, and do you think you're going to come in as they see as a starting player and whatnot? And then with all those aspects considered, I did have some really good opportunities, but I was lucky that UConn stood out to me, and I had family in the state and stuff like that. So overall, it just kind of seemed like the best place for me. Yeah.
You said there that about assessing, where you're going to play. I think that's such an important thing that gets overlooked a lot of the time by a lot of other players that, that I've been working with and that I speak with, because they always think I need to go to a D1 and that's like the only option. Unfortunately, not everyone always has D1 options on the table. And if they do, they might not be offering you a full scholarship. When one of the things that I always say to everyone is, the most important thing in choosing a university is where you feel you're going to be comfortable, where you feel like you're going to play, and where you feel like you're going to improve as a person, as a student, and also as an athlete. Those are the ultimate things. And
definitely,
always say it's not about where you start the journey, but it's where you finish the 4 years of your studies. So
exactly.
How was that connection for you with coach then? Tell us a little bit more about that, how the conversations went, and for everyone to get a little bit of a feel. Perhaps some aren't familiar with the US process. Tell us how that was for you.
I mean, yeah. So the coaches really kind of made it easy for me for the start. They kind of told me like what they see me doing here and like how they want me to fit into their system. And there was a lot of like communication with. I talked a lot to the assistant head coach before I came here, and then I started to talk to all the other assistant coaches as well, and they just kind of helped me settle in like really well, especially at the start when I wasn't really sure, and there was a quarantine period where like things were kind of up in the air. And yeah, they kind of just put a lot of support in place for me, helping me with moving, helping me with getting set up my education, food, etc. So yeah, it was kind of just a constant communication over the phone. I didn't actually meet anyone in person until 2 weeks into being here. So yeah, just staying in contact, not being afraid to reach out when you need anything, because they brought you over here, so they're gonna try to look after you as best they can.
Definitely. And it's been one of those crazy years, hasn't it? Like, no one would have ever expected for this to happen. How's that been for you in terms of obviously going through the summer, knowing, am I going, am I not going? Do I defer for a year? How was that for you experience?
Yeah, it was confusing a lot of the time because everything's like very up in the air. You don't really know. No one really had the answers to anything really. The dates when I was for preseason kept getting changed, etc., etc. But you just I just have to be patient, really, knowing that everyone's kind of dealing with this at the same time. So no one has any better answers for me. So you kind of just have to just believe that everything's going to be okay, and then yeah. So yeah, I'd say it was a case of me just kind of saying, well, I knew I wanted to go this year. I considered deferring, but I kind of felt like I was ready to go now, and the coaches never really gave me a impression that I'd need to defer, or it wasn't really a conversation that we had to bring up. So I was kind of confident I'd be here for the fall. Obviously, there's no competitive season, but yeah, it worked out that I'm here.
And how has that settling in been for you in terms of training, especially? How have you? Tell me about your impression of the US when you hadn't been there, and how that perhaps changed, or if it was any different to how it is when you're there now. Is it different in standard to what you thought? Are the plays better? Are they not as good? How is that for you?
I mean, I think coming out of the European football, it's kind of a superiority complex, but I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't really know what to expect. But coming in, like, I've been like really pleasantly surprised, like how good the standard of the players are, the quality of the coach, and obviously the facilities over here are like insane. So yeah, the kind of support that you have around you to improve you as a player and develop you is really high level, like as high level as some Premier League teams. So in terms of that, it really does like help you develop as a player, as an athlete, especially. There's a lot of emphasis on being an athlete first, which was something that I noticed when I first came here. There's a lot of gym sessions, a lot of conditioning training. Definitely a lot more than I was used to in the UK, but when you stick with it, you get used to it, and it does help your game overall. So yeah, it's been a worthwhile adaptation period, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I remember saying it to you or not, but in the US, that is a lot. The focus is on being athletic and an athlete, being fit, a lot of strength and conditioning, that kind of stuff. Is that something you've enjoyed over there? Obviously, with the facilities, how have you found that? How does that compare to what you had over at Barnet?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot higher level in terms of the support you get around you. You get a program as a trainer. You're there we're currently doing lifting twice a week, but in a usual, this is the equivalent of a spring season right now. They're lifting 4 times a week. So it's definitely a lot more demanding than the physical program I had at Barnet. But it's good. I've enjoyed it because I've always wanted to develop physically. So having that support and being able to ask questions to people with experience and getting a structured program really just makes it a lot easier because it takes a lot of the guesswork out. So yeah, it's allowed me to develop physically. I've been able to put on a little bit of weight. So yeah, it's definitely something that's helped my game, I'd say, a little bit.
Is that what they've told you? You need to put on a bit of weight?
Yeah, no, they want me to put on at least 10 pounds. So I'm about halfway there right now.
Nice. Oh, I'm sure you'll get there, pal. So what about academically then? How have you found that in comparison to your BTEC, maybe what you did? Obviously, it's a little bit different because you're going into university and you've got to do your core credits, but tell everyone how that's been for you.
I mean, yeah, definitely takes an adaptation period. Obviously, coming out of where I'd played, I hadn't really been in any like real formal, demanding education system for 2 years. But yeah, especially with the online school as well, it's something you have to navigate and kind of understand how everything works. But once you do that and you start to get to know your schedule and your professors and whatnot, it's very manageable. You just have to be smart with your time because you're training a lot, etc. So you've just got to kind of be really organized and learn when you're going to do your work and stuff like that. And in the end, you'll be fine. Obviously, as I go through my years here, the work will get more challenging, but the initial period is the most important. I think adapting and learning how to navigate the work, and then from there, like everything should be fine as long as you put the hours in.
And what does your daily schedule look like? Just give us a day in the life of Okem.
I mean, right now I'm in my dorm a lot because a lot of school's online. So the main time I go out is for training. So we train all throughout the weekdays, so Monday to Friday, and then we're lucky enough to get the weekends off right now. So usually I'll have 1 or 2 lectures in the morning for one of my subjects, and then 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I'll train. Some days it'll be conditioning and training. Other days it'll be lift and then training. And then after that, I'm usually just back in the dorm, getting food, maybe finishing off some works and assignments, and then just resetting again for the next day.
Eat, train, sleep, repeat, pretty much, isn't it? And study.
Literally. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's obviously unfortunate at the moment with the virus not being able to go out as much and not being as involved in the classes. I suppose you haven't really met many of your other class students, have you? Because it's all online, or do you have a lot of online chats where you go through and teamwork, group sessions, or how does that work for you?
I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely odd because there's a lot less social interaction when it's online. I think people are just a bit more hesitant to reach out, but I think some of my teachers have been really good, and sometimes we do like breakout rooms and stuff like that. You get to talk to other people in your class and get to know them a little bit. So I've been able to do that, which has helped. But yeah, it's not to the level of in-person learning, but it's kind of the best you can do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to make the best of a bad situation, haven't you? And
yeah, pretty much.
Let's hope that we can get a vaccine as soon as possible, and then hopefully. I mean, have they said that the fall season's going definitely ahead for you guys, or are they still waiting? The spring season now. The spring season,
there's the idea. We're kind of thinking along the lines that the spring season is going to happen until told otherwise. That's what everyone's believing right now.
Yeah. Perfect. And so Okem, is there any sort of advice that you would give to perhaps anyone who is, let's just say, obviously in your case, football, anyone who's coming out of academies at the moment, doesn't quite know what to do, any advice you would give them from your experience, or, you know, what would you say to someone who's there now?
I'd say just be open-minded. You've got to really just weigh up what you really want. You know, if you're in a position where you've kind of weighed up your options and you realize that it's not worth it for you to come out here, or you want to still play in Europe or play in England, whatever, then that's something you have to weigh up. But if you want to really consider it objectively and you feel like coming to the US is the best for you, just take your time, research the schools that you get in contact with, and really build a relationship with the coaches who contact you. And if it feels right, then it probably is. And if not, then you probably use your instinct and maybe seek out another opportunity. But definitely keep open-minded, because I feel like a lot of the people that I know that play football in England, they don't even consider the US. I don't think it's really like thought of there. Yeah. But no, definitely consider it, because there's some good opportunities out here. And I think a lot of people would benefit from coming out to the States.
I speak with a lot of similar lads like yourself, and you know, the common conception or ideal is that going to the US is going to sort of stop me from becoming a professional player. How do you see that? And do you, in the short time that you've been there, do you feel like you have developed as a player?
Yeah, no, obviously I don't agree that it's obviously going to stop your development. I mean, you've got like really high quality coaches out here. And there's really good players out here as well. I think people forget that. So you can really play at a high level. And I've seen a lot of examples of former players at the club I'm at, and a lot of people know other people that have managed to go pro and make it into the MLS or whatnot, or USL, or whatever. So it is realistic for it to be achieved. Obviously, it's not easy, but just as realistic as going pro in England or in somewhere else in Europe, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about just weighing up the statistics, really. And, you know, I always say again, it's you got to have a plan B in place. And that's the biggest mistake I personally did in my own career. I sort of just focused on football way too much for the first couple of years and neglected that. And, you know, I can see that with the younger players coming through. Obviously, when we spoke, you were very focused on education as well, which really struck me, and hence why I think this has been a very good option for you as well. It's just, you know, you can combine both your passions, and there are so many opportunities out there afterward, you know, either it's the draft or the USL, combines, come back to play in Europe. You know, you can always come back to play semi-pro football once you've been in the US. I have no doubt about that. The other thing you can't do is play semi-pro and then go to the US for a while. You know, that's the one thing you can't do. So, like you say, it's about weighing up your options, and, you know, finding the route that best works for everyone, I think. So yeah, okay, Okem, perfect. And any other advice, anything that you would say to someone who's, again, not quite sure, anything that you would have done differently in the process, perhaps? Maybe started it a little bit earlier, left it too late. What are your thoughts on the timing of the process and so on?
Yeah, in my case, I was definitely a little bit late to the party, but it managed to work out fine. I'd say if you did want to get into it, I'd probably start a little bit earlier than I did. I think I started my process in late March or something like that, which is when a lot of teams already are looking at a lot of players already. And yeah, just definitely take your time. Research every school you get in contact with, and for me, I'd say you want to go somewhere where you feel like you're wanted, where you feel like you've got good prospects to play, and somewhere that's just going to fit you. Not every school could be the perfect match for you. You just want to go somewhere that you feel suits you, and if it feels right, then it probably is. And then I think it'll be good for them.
And have you been able to explore Connecticut at all? Obviously, with the lockdown, it's difficult, but have you been able to see your family? Have you got plans on coming back home over Christmas, or are you staying with your family in the US? What are your plans?
So initially, when I was out here, I stayed at my aunt's for over a day. But I haven't really been able to see too much of the state so far because of the situation. But I'm gonna hopefully come back over Christmas for a couple of weeks, come back to England, spend some time with family, and then come back out for the spring, and then hopefully have a season. Yeah.
Chill out, have some downtime. Hopefully things are sorted here a little bit more by then as well, because it's not the best over here either at the moment. Brilliant, Okem. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your experiences with everyone. Really appreciate that. I'm sure, you know, do you mind if anyone gets in touch with you to ask you any questions? Obviously, if anyone who sees this, anyone who's unsure about the process, do you mind if anyone reaches out to you or has any questions?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll be fine.
Brilliant. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to let me know and I can put you in touch with Okem, and I'm sure you'll be more than happy to answer or help with anything that you're unsure about or assure you about the process as well. So thank you everyone for listening. Cheers, Okem, for your time. Much appreciated. And yeah, hopefully things turn out a little bit better sooner. You can get out a bit more and have a good spring season.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Cheers, pal. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.